covering the NJ Transit crash that happened in Hoboken last week, and we still don't know what caused the crash. Officials made a big fanfare. They had found a black box. Turns out the black box was not functioning. The train's engineer has been questioned, but he says that he doesn't remember anything until he woke up on the floor of the cab after the crash. And he's also said that the train was moving at the speed of 10 miles per hour, which directly contradicts what Governor Christie said last week, that the train was moving at a, quote, high rate of speed. So we can't even figure out at what speed the train was moving at, let alone what caused it in the first place. This crash is not an isolated incident. It's another in a long line of NJ Transit fiascos on Governor Christie's watch. I spoke to Steve Malanga. He's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and I asked him, why has there been a vacancy at the top spot for NJ Transit over almost an entire year?
There are people, intermediate people, who Christie has appointed as basically head of all transportation, both rail, transportation, but also spending on things like roads and bridges, in the state. And officially, they make the selection. But really, Christie is not going to approve anyone unless he approves this.
I said, they have a board, they have an interim executive director. Why can't they lead NJ Transit?
The board members are basically not mass transit experts. That's not what they do. They're not going to be running the thing. So until you get somebody in here as essentially the CEO, you're not going to turn around this agency, or at least begin the process of turning it around.
On top of that, NJ Transit is under federal investigation. The Federal Railroad Administration is doing an audit of NJ Transit since June. Officials began that investigation because they were concerned about safety violations and the fact that there's a vacuum at the top spot. This is actually a failure of leadership on the part of Governor Christie, because he promised us back in 2009 when he was running against Corzine that one of the issues that he was going to do is fix NJ Transit.
What bothers me the most, Jessica, you were there. What was the scene like when you got there with the people coming off the train? Because I think these politicians, they miss it. There are real people that are impacted. I mean, God forbid, this one woman is dead. People were shaken up. What was it like?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go back to the people that were there during the accident. One man talked about being on the platform and seeing blood.
People bleeding everywhere, wobbling around, first responders starting to come. And just a very, very sad situation.
All you hear is an explosion and loud sound, and I felt like a light coming towards me, and I just ran out the door. I didn't know what was going on at the time.
I know that we always love to place blame on Governor Christie here, but in this situation, it's the board of directors that's really at fault.
But again, though, if he would take the time, he acted as the head of NJ Transit when he pushed back on the federal government. So he knew there was a vacancy. So unless he is somehow overnight became an engineer and a train expert, I think it is a disgrace that he left this vacancy, allowed this to happen on his watch. Somebody has blood on their hands from this crisis. And you know what? As they say, the old cliche, the fish rots from the head down. Christie's the head.
All right, I can't believe that the black box and that records the audio and helps you figure out, what's going on wasn't working. How often are they having inspections that this just happens?
What's the point of the black box?
What's the point of the black box, right?